This is one of the coolest places I've ever been. I'm here with Roland Muzquiz, who is the principal percussionist for the Dallas Wind Symphony, and we're here in his fabulous studio at Richardson High School where he's percussion coordinator, and all around us are the most amazing things that make lots and lots of noise, yes? Or is it sound, or is it...
Well, it's all of those things. Sound and music and noise. Some people will call it noise. You know, other people will be open-minded enough to think of it as music. It's all sounds, and you know, I'm sitting behind the drum set, and you can see behind you all kinds of different noise makers and effects that we use for all different kinds of things in a repertoire that we play with the Wind Symphony and here at Richardson High School with our concert bands and percussion ensembles. So. But I'm sitting behind the drum set today because you've invited me to speak a little bit about the topic of swing drumming, swing music. The Wind Symphony has an upcoming concert in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be playing swing music. So.
Well,
I'm going to demonstrate.
You're going to tell us what the keys are, so that all of us out here who love swing
Uh-huh.
may not necessarily know what makes up swing, and you're the critical part in that.
Well, yeah, I'd like to think I am. It's you know, the drummer is going to pretty much make or break the feel of swing, and that's a key word, feel. It is a feeling. It's a style that people sense. You were asking me, well, what is the difference between swing music and, say, rock music and so forth? And to put it in words, rock music, for the most part, kind of evolves around a feel or a style of what we call straight eighth notes. You're going to hear things based on kind of a straight eighth note pulse, like so. Just a very simple rock beat would be something like... whereas swing is going to be a feel where we take, we sort of find an in-between groove between the eighth note feel of rock music, the 16th note feel of funk music, and find something in between that's more of what we would probably call a triplet interpretation. So even though the music might be written in straight eighth notes like this, we what we call swing the rhythm and play that instead like this. The idea is it's sort of based on a triplet feeling of. So you go and take that idea and fancy it up a little bit, and you get like. As swing progressed, then the hi-hat was added, which was originally a low instrument, which only played with the foot. Eventually it was lengthened and heightened so that it could be played with the sticks as well, and so a lot of swing rhythms were then adapted to the hi-hat, not just the snare drum. So you would hear combinations of that along with the snare drum. And the bass drum generally in swing is playing a steady beat throughout the whole thing, a quarter note type of pulse, so you hear something like this. And so forth. And then the cymbal is usually the other main component here in swing rhythm, in swing music, where you hear same kind of rhythm that I played here, except the rhythm is shifted over to the cymbal and you hear. The drum set that I'm sitting behind here is not what I would call a drum set that is really set up or adapted to swing music. This is a much more contemporary setup. But the fact is that the drum set sort of went through an evolution of something very simple to what then became a basis of a bass drum, a snare drum, and just a myriad of contraptions that were added to it. Things such as cowbells, wood blocks, Chinese temple blocks, Chinese cymbals, all kinds of sound effects that the drummer would play. All these things were attached on a little rack, or what they called a console, that was parked over the bass drum. And so you had all kinds of sound effects that you could play, especially if you were playing in a Broadway show or something like that, playing swing music in an early show, and you had a lot of contraptions that you could play, and thus the name trap set, because you had all these contraptions attached. As swing music evolved, the drum set sort of started growing in some areas, but also diminishing. We didn't see so many of the little contraptions anymore, but what you did see was the drum set taking on more drums, more tom-toms. So you'd see maybe instead of just one little Chinese tom-tom, you'd have what we call the modern tom-tom, maybe one tom-tom here and a tom-tom on the floor. That's kind of your typical or basic drum set for swing. And then a ride cymbal, a crash cymbal, and of course the hi-hat as we know it now, up at the level where you can play it with the stick. So the drum set itself is, like I said, has mushroomed from a very basic setup to a very ornamented setup. Then it got simple again, and now as we've gone through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, the drum set has expanded again. And what I'm sitting behind right here is kind of my workshop, because I do all different kinds of styles of music that I work with. So you see cowbells once again. You see these conga drums, you see an extra snare drum, extra sound effect cymbals, extra hi-hat cymbals, cowbell over here, and so forth. But you would have heard a lot of these sounds back in the early swing era also. So that's just kind of the evolution of the drum set. What I'm going to demonstrate for you here, and I'm going to restrict myself to just the components that I would use in a swing band configuration. I'm going to play some improvisations on some of the rhythms that were typical of what Gene Krupa played when he was featured in the Benny Goodman Orchestra on the very, very popular tune Sing, 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 which we will be closing our concert with in a couple of weeks with the Dallas Wind Symphony. Because Gene Krupa, at the time that they first recorded this, had been studying African drumming, African rhythms and so forth, he kind of based his whole solo on that. Even though he was well known for his tremendous snare drum technique, the drum set, the solo itself, sort of focuses on a lot of tom-tom work. So you might have heard something like this. So it was very tom-tom heavy and kind of had that driving beat, but it made the dancers really want to get up and dance, and that's what swing is all about. It's really about getting people to get up and dance. You have to make them feel like they just can't sit still in their chairs. That's what swing music is all about, is really making people want to dance.